The second phase, Asian values. Now, this was the thing which sort of prompted this whole erosion of cultural identity business. From the 1980s to mid-1990s, it coincided with the beginnings of a new age of globalization. That is, because of what was going on all around the world was becoming more and more interconnected. All the processes and events taking place in the world impacted one another. People were moving across the world, ideas, products, everything coming together. And so you have tensions from all these flows. And there were two threats coming from globalization. First is the threat of cultural homogenization, or maybe cultural imperialism, that one dominant culture in the world, say American culture, McDonald's or whatever, dominating the world. I mean, being spread all over the world, and so everyone eating McDonald's. All becoming, or Japanese cultural imperialism, everyone buying Hello Kitty or whatever. The idea of a dominant cultural force shaping the rest of the world. But it also simultaneously have another tendency, that is cultural heterogenization. That is so many different cultural streams bombarding us that the world is not coming together but being fragmented, broken up into different subcultures. And as a result, Asian values was seen as a solution or an antidote. As Western cultural influence increased, led by America, as China and East Asia rose economically, Singapore was again at the crossroads of East and West. Asian values was used as a buffer, a defense, against perceived corrosive effects of Western liberal culture, and as a basis for identification with a rising New Asia. But of course, there were problems with this because not all of the West is liberal. I mean, if you go to America, you know there are red states and blue states, and some are so conservative and fundamentalist. So not all the West is liberal. And likewise, this New Asia, rising New Asia, is not perfect either. I mean, what Asia are we talking about? There are different kinds of subcultures and ethnic groups and all that, ancient civilizations in Asia. So it is not monolithic, it is not just one. There are many different varieties going on in Asia, and not all of them are perfect. The Asian economic, the financial crisis and all that showed that Asian systems are not all perfect. They can bring the rest of the world down. And Suharto's Indonesia his new order regime was very corrupt. So Asia was not always seen to be the shining example for the rest of the world. Then the final phase, which is glocalization. Now, it's not a spelling mistake. Glocalization is a combination of going global, that is globalization, and staying local, rooted in the local. So global, local, glocal. Now this is a new phase of cultural cosmopolitanism as well as heritage conservation, which is designed to arrest emigration from Hotel Singapore. You see, as the world becomes more interconnected, some people not just go for holiday, but they have a really fun, good time in other parts of the world, and so they begin to treat Singapore as like a hotel. These are the idea of Goh Chok Tong, that this is Hotel Singapore. People only come to use Singapore, use Singapore's facilities, take advantage, but they don't really see Singapore as a home to identify with. They have cultural affiliations in other parts of the world. So this new cultural cosmopolitanism makes Singapore a fun place to be in, have a lot more drum beating and things like that, you know, which young people can participate in. This will make you feel a part of things. It will help to create something worthwhile down here. Arrest emigration from Hotel Singapore, accommodate and anchor other Singaporeans, while attracting foreign talents to home base Singapore. My final section. But rather than talking about organized cultural identity, which I suppose to some extent, to a large extent, is the responsibility of the state manages its people. And rather than talking about erosion, which is a rather negative thing, why not talk about this more historic word, evolution? The word erosion frames the entire debate in a rather negative light, when Singapore's long-term multicultural history points to a more positive evolution. And there's also irony of organized cultural identity as a form of social engineering, even as it assumes or idealizes some sort of cultural superiority or stereotyping. The West is bad, the East is good, that sort of thing. And it artificially constructs what this writer, anthropologist Benedict Anderson called an imagined community. You imagine this is the nation, and these are the constituent groups, and if you imagine hard enough, we will become Singapore. And then it reinvents tradition. The fish head curry is now a Singaporean dish, or the yisheng is a Singaporean dish, but you go to India, they never heard of fish head curry, or you go to China, they never heard of the raw fish salad as we eat it today. And then they call it Chinese or Indian or whatever, but it's actually Chinese Singaporean or Indian Singaporean or whatever. But this is what they do to the nation. They idealize some sort of thing, and they say is rooted in our ancient culture. And this can actually interfere, ironically, and erode the evolution of authentic and genuinely organic cultural identities. So, for example, speak Mandarin instead of dialects, or speak English instead of Singlish. Some people take affront at this, because to them Singlish is very important. To be Singaporean means to speak Singlish rather than standard English. And instead of all this irony, let me suggest to you the importance of an organically evolving cultural diversity. As an individual, I am proud of my own multiple cultural affiliations. I am a Christian. That is my universal cultural identity. I am an English-educated Peranakan, straight Chinese. That is my global, transnational, and ethnic identity. And I am also a Singaporean. That is my national identity. Finally, I am trained as a historian and not a more useful and utilitarian profession, simply because my parents were enlightened enough to encourage cultural diversity and individuality in the family. When living in an evolving multicultural society such as Singapore, cross-cultural fertilization can be a good thing. When you go to a high-class restaurant, some high-class restaurants, and you examine the menu, we do not say eroded cuisine. We say fusion. When unveiling a stunning VIP orchid at the Botanic Gardens, we do not say eroded flower. We say hybrid.